A little boy climbed an apple tree. He stole an apple, then two, then three. And when he started to climb back down, he slipped and he landed on the ground. Up jumped the devil, up jumped the devil. And every time he turned around, up jumped the devil in the white nightgown.
Good evening, America and the rest of the world. Xander J. Hobson here, stand-up comedian and entertainer, director and producer of boxing documentaries, and internet troll to those who need internet trolling. This is another episode of The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. Folks, listen, y'all know I'm trying to grow the platform, so please, before you do anything else, subscribe, like, share. And of course, I want you to leave a comment. I enjoy getting feedback from these videos that I do, as well as interacting with you guys in the comment section. So please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment in the comment section. Feel free to say something nasty if you want, but just know, if you get chewed out of pocket in my comment section, I'm gonna deal sternly with you. I'm the troll's troll, and trolling me will not be tolerated. So I want to continue with the conversation of Alpo Martinez. Alpo Martinez, a notable Harlem drug dealer. Alpo, a flashy and charismatic guy. A lot of people looking at him as if he was a Robin Hood type figure. Those are the Alpo Martinez supporters. You have some Alpo Martinez detractors out there. And if you were to ask an Alpo Martinez detractor why they dislike Alpo, most of the times you'll hear them say he was a fink, a snitch, a rat. The man had absolutely no honor. There's supposed to be an honor among thieves, and Alpo broke that honor. A lot of people talking real slick and greasy about Alpo. The most notable that I can think of is my man Star from the Star and Buck Wild show, Tory Terrain or something like that. Guys like Star talking real slick about Alpo. And one thing for certain and two things for sure, I'm willing to bet if any of those individuals had the opportunity before Alpo expired to call him a snitch to his face, I'm willing to bet a lot of those guys would decline that opportunity. Now, please understand, this is not me caping for Alpo Martinez. I neither like the man or dislike the man, but he is the subject of conversation now, and this is me trying to build my channel on Alpo Martinez. But nevertheless, folks, a lot of people get upset with Alpo because he was a snitch. Yo, he was a snitch. But Alpo was also a killer. Alpo admitted to killing 14 people. So if he admitted to killing 14 people, more than likely Alpo might have killed maybe 30 or 40 people. Because life doesn't mean anything to a guy like Alpo. I can see now somebody just getting out of pocket and Alpo just letting them have it. Alpo was a killer. And not only was he a killer, he qualifies as a serial killer. But people don't get upset about that. You don't hear people say, man, that guy was a killer. He was a serial killer. He killed people. No, they get upset about him being a snitch. Alpo put drugs in the neighborhood. He's responsible for crack babies. And a lot of you out there, your mothers, your fathers, was affected by the drugs that Alpo brought into your community. But you don't get mad at Alpo about that. You don't say, man, that nigga, my mom was on drugs. I came into court, my father sucking a man's dick. Alpo done this to the community. You niggas don't get mad about that. You get mad about Alpo being a snitch. And once again, I'm not surprised because a lot of people are the products of dysfunction. and they have misplaced priorities. Now, with that said, right, folks, Alpo isn't the only guy who was a snitch out there. Again, I was looking on the internet, and again, I'm watching people take shots at Alpo for getting killed. People talking about how he died. My man Stars even talking about Alpo might have got killed by a transgender guy. Well, again, as far as the subject of being a snitch goes, there are a lot of notable snitches out there. Alpo isn't the only one. He's just the topic of conversation right now. But folks, I was looking up notable snitches, and the first guy who popped on the slot, they had Nicky Barnes as the most notable snitch. Nicky Barnes at number one. Nicky Barnes, a Harlem drug dealer who ratted out his friends because he learned that some of his boys were sleeping with his chicks while he was in jail. Nicky Barnes, you had a lot of time on your hands. There wasn't no way. Somebody had to take care of the chicks. But nevertheless, Nicky Barnes started snitching. Nicky Barnes drew the attention of President Jimmy Carter by appearing on the New York Post magazine. And initially, Jimmy Carter was like, who is this nigga right here? And once President Jimmy Carter learned that Nicky Barnes was a drug dealer, the census was, get that nigga. Get him! Frank Lucas, another notable snitch. In fact, Frank Lucas's life inspired the movie American Gangster. He made a mistake similar to Nicky Barnes. Frank Lucas showed up at the Joe Frazier Muhammad Ali fight with a chinchilla hat and a chinchilla coat and a bad chick on his hip. And again, initially the census was like, who is that nigga right there? Then once the powers that be learned that Frank Lucas was a drug dealer, the census was, get that nigga, get him. Now, a quick shameless plug. I'm a serviceman, Marine veteran, and an Air Force retiree. And although the white folks in my aviation unit down in Dover, Delaware, were quite fond of me at the time, when they learned that I had a bunch of rental properties in Philadelphia, their attitude got real shitty. Something about white folks, they don't like the idea of a black person having just as much as them, or maybe more. But let's get back to what we was talking about. We're talking about notable snitches. They said that Nicky Barnes was the number one snitch. More white propaganda, because the most notable snitch on the list was the gangster's gangster, Charles Lucky Luciano. Charles Lucky Luciano is the father of modern organized crime. Charles Lucky Luciano was so powerful. During World War II, he galvanized the Italians over in Italy to go up against Mussolini. Mussolini, an ally of Hitler. However, the American government called on Lucky Luciano to galvanize the Italians over in Italy to go against Mussolini. Lucky Luciano, a charismatic gangster, and he was once the boss of one of the crime families. Very powerful man. But nevertheless, Lucky Luciano was a snitch. Lucky Luciano being locked up with a bunch of his fellow gangsters. And what happens? While everybody else is locked up, Lucky Luciano is shuffled out of jail and put on an airplane and deported back to Italy. Folks, we know what that means. Person sitting in jail with a bunch of other guys, you and your boys, all y'all in there for the same thing, and one person get out and the rest stay in. We know what that means. And Lucky Luciano isn't the only notable gangster. The Rat? What about Whitey Bulger? Whitey Bulger, the man whose life inspired the movie The Town. Whitey Bulger started snitching in 1975, and he snitched all the way up to 1995. 20 years of snitching. 20 years. Then there was the Gambino underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano, the underboss, the John Gotti. Oh, it's a bunch of notable snitches. Then there was Henry Hill, the mobster whose life inspired the book Wise Guys and the movie Goodfellas. Henry Hill, snitch. The man was a snitch. Oh, you had a bunch of gangsters that were snitches. Then you had the guy Joe Valachi, whose life inspired the movie The Valachi Papers. Joe the Animal Barbosa, vicious guy. Joe Barbosa, a former boxer and hitman, once chewed a man's ear off. Notorious vicious hitman. Now, quick bit of history. Joe Barbosa, Joe Valachi, and Sammy the Bull Gravano, at least they snitched. Because from what I learned, the people that was working above them was so afraid of them, they started trying to knock them off or get them took under, something like that. So they at least had a reason to snitch on the people that they were working with. If that will make any of you guys out there who hate snitches feel any better. But guys like Whitey Bulger, Lucky Luciano, and Greg, the Grim Reaper Scarfer, these guys were not only vicious, bloodthirsty killers. These guys would also turn the government against you. If guys like Whitey Bulger, Lucky Luciano, or Greg Scarpa had a problem with a guy, they would tell their handlers, their FBI handlers on these guys to get them locked up. So they are far worse than a guy like Alpo ever could have been. So as I get ready to sum this up, because I really hate to be long-winded, folks, Alpo Martinez was a criminal. He was, in all actuality, a serial killer who infected the neighborhood with drugs. And you guys are surprised that Alpo Martinez was a snitch when he was a serial killer and he infested the neighborhood with drugs? You guys are expecting too much from Alpo. He wasn't Alpo Martinez, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. He wasn't Alpo, philanthropist. No, he was Alpo Martinez, drug dealer, cutthroat killer. He wasn't Alpo Martinez, mayor of New York City. Wait a minute, let me take that back. Because if he was Alpo, mayor of New York City, he might not have been a serial killer or a drug dealer, but he still would have been crooked. But you guys get my point. So as I wrap this up, folks, Alpo Martinez was a bad guy. And being a snitch just went with the territory of being a bad guy. I'm done with it, folks.